How do you do, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Cup Show. Tonight's show is going to run 90 minutes instead of our usual hour because we have some very special people we want you to meet. First, you'll meet Jackie Gleason, the great one himself, who's starring in The Sly Fox at the Blackstone Theater. And then you'll meet three gentlemen in a more serious vein: Carl Sagan, the great Pulitzer Prize-winning astronomer who's written The Dragons of Eden; Tom Wicker of the New York Times, who's written a book called On the Press; and Ben Wattenberg, a political analyst who has a show on the public broadcasting system called In Search of Real America. So you can see we're going to get into a lot of different areas. But first, away we go with Jackie Gleason. Ladies and gentlemen, we're proud to present the great one himself, a man of many, many talents: raconteur, comedian, actor, musical composer, a Renaissance man who plays the leading role in Sly Fox at the theater. Jackie, welcome once again. It's been a long time since we've had a chance to talk on television.
Yes.
And I'm delighted that you're looking so good and dressed so casually. This is your favorite form of dress when you're casual, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
I noticed at the press interview.
Somebody asked me if I jogged. I don't. I jug. But I like this kind of an outfit. I'm sick of, I do 5 fast changes in the second act in the show, so I'm tired of putting on clothes.
I don't blame you. Jackie, you're talking about jug. You're famous for that little cup you use on most of your appearances. How did that come about?
Well, I did a show called You're in the Picture. I think you remember. It was the biggest bomb that ever took place.
Bigger than Skidoo?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, oh, God, there's another beauty. But I demanded from CBS permission to go on the following week and tell the audience how dreadful this thing was. And strangely enough, they gave me the permission. And just before the show, I realized that going out in front of an audience and talking about a bomb for an hour would sound like sour grapes. So I told the girl, I said, just before the show starts, walk out with a bottle of J&B and make sure the audience knows that it's J&B, and pour it into my cup. And I knew that every time I reached for that cup, the audience would understand what was in it, and it would break up the fact that I was saying how stupid we were to do the show. And that's how the cup started, and I've used it ever since.
If I recall that explanation or that apology, you sat at a little table, didn't you?
I just sat in a chair.
With a table alongside with the cup on it.
Yeah, we got great reviews for that.
Yeah.
And then we continued to do the show. I still did that, and we did it for, I think, 13, 14 weeks. And we got good notices, we had good ratings, and I had to go to Paris to do Gigot. And I left it. I'd love to do a show like that again.
Just sit there and converse with the audience.
Just sit there and gab.
And you cover a lot of areas, Jackie.
Ask
Jackie,
the audience if they want.
You mentioned reviews a second ago, and you got good reviews for that apology. And now you open Thursday night in the Sly Fox. Friday morning's paper carried 2 reviews. It's difficult how expert reviewers, as we have in Chicago, came out with such divergent opinions. Glenna Sykes of the Chicago Sun-Times loved it. It was How Sweet It Is was the headline.
Yeah.
And Linda Weiner of the Tribune was far less sanguine about the show. She
an interesting thing about Linda Weiner's review is that she reviewed my shoes.
Oh, yes. Yes, that's right.
And that's the first time I've ever been in a show where my shoes were reviewed. And I think that makes some commentary on a review when they look at an actor's shoes. And incidentally, she was wrong, because the shoes I'm wearing, she claimed were suitable for a country club in Florida. They happen to be the exact replicas of slippers with the little elastic instead of the laces of 1880 shoes. So she was wrong on that. But of course, she's entitled to her opinion. If she didn't like the show, fine. And she opens up with a very dichotomous statement. She says, the baffling hilarity. Well, I don't understand that. I'm supposed to make people hilarious if I can. And why should that be baffling?
I would assume, without reading Linda's mind, that to her, she couldn't understand why it was hilarious. To her, it was baffling that the people were found it funny.
Well,
I was in the
should
audience.
think that a woman who reviews shows over the years would be able to make a judgment when she hears people laughing.
The very fact that people are laughing is
yeah, but it was baffling to
be reported in itself. I enjoyed the show very much, Jackie. I guess at one point I want to continue with the Linda Weiner report. She makes remarks about the low-grade humor, some of the sexual humor. She calls
you know,
six
she ought
jokes about
to hype up her grammar. If she's going to talk about low-grade humor, I'll talk about low-grade grammar. She starts off her column by saying Sly Fox Witch is appearing at the Blackstone Theater, which is an incongruous grammatical mistake. And I'm surprised a woman who is supposed to be scholarly would use such kind of words.
She made some remarks about the number of references to the penis and the low-grade jokes, low-grade humor used in the show. Now, you have always been a man who's exemplified clean humor. Everything you've done has been away from sex, away from the four-letter dirty words and so forth. Did you have any reservations about doing this type of humor in the show?
To begin with, I don't use any four-letter words in the show.
But the implication is there.
And second of all, you're right. I do have the distinction of appearing on particular media where I know that you're not supposed to say certain words or to act salacious. I wouldn't do some of the television shows that are on now. I'd never do those things. But that's television. We are now in a theater where you're charging $17 or something to get in. So you imagine that no kids are going to show up for 17 bucks. And if they do show up, it should be with parental guidance. We have in our ads, it's a bawdy, racy thing. And what people accept in the theater today is an entirely different thing, what they accepted years ago. What we do in the show, I would rather say something shocking or say a four-letter word and get a laugh than to say a four-letter word just to impugn on an audience something shocking, to make it vivid, a line vivid that you say. That's bad. But if you make people laugh, that's my business. That's what I'm supposed to do. And that's why I can't understand her gorgeous line, baffling hilarity.
I didn't see anything baffling about the hilarity because I thought it was hilarious, as I should say. And the audience certainly laughed. There were a lot of laughs in there.
Well, I think we're giving too much time to her review, but I will say this. As I said before, she's entitled to her own opinion, but if she's going to be scholarly, she better start studying grammar. And if she's going to quote what is on Johnson's epitaph, she better quote it correctly. And I don't think she should ever review an actor's shoes.
That's like Paul Simon.
That's all I have to say about her.
That's like the Mr. Famous reviewer in New York, Mr. Simon, who reviews their physical appearances. You've heard about him. Jackie, you've been around for a long, long time now. Does adverse criticism bother you, or do you have a thick skin about that?
No, it doesn't. The only criticism that I value comes directly from an audience. If they're not, and incidentally, a comedian's whole life is run by immediate criticism. He tells a joke, and if the laugh isn't there, he knows right away he's bombing. A dancer has a couple of choruses to dance to impress an audience. A singer has a couple of choruses to charm a group. In a play, you have a whole 2.5 hours to make your point and to win an audience. But when a comedian walks out on the stage and he says, a funny thing happened, it better be funny, because the audience will tell him right away. It's an immediate criticism. That's why comedy is so tough to do.
When you look at television today and at some of the nightclubs, which you never patronized, or at least not very often, are you a little disappointed in what you're seeing your fellow comedians doing?
Well, they're not my fellow comedians. They take monologists now and put them into shows that are storyline shows, and it's an entirely different business. If you're a scene comic, that's entirely different than telling monologues. It's very difficult to do scene comic, storyline comedy. And to take a fellow who's a popular monologist and put him into a storyline plot isn't a good idea, and it doesn't work out many times. As you can see, the shows are going off right and left. Violence has been erased from television, so they had to go to the next thing, sex. If you watch any of the trailers saying, don't forget to watch tonight, so-and-so is going to be on, will she get in bed with George? oh, will George do this to her? It's all sex. They don't say anything about the funny situation you're going to see that the writers wrote. It's just the easy way out. It's like in burlesque when we'd say to a comic, you're a pants dropper. A guy would drop his pants for a laugh.
The easiest way to get a laugh.
Cheap shots.
Yeah. Jackie, there's a moral to Sly Fox. Instead of, in addition to being great, hilarious and moving in some regards, but there's a great moral there about the greed, and the man who is easiest to take is the guy who's trying to take you. We had a guy named Yellow Kid Wild around here, one of the great con artists of all time.
Yeah, I know.
And his point was always that the easiest guys to take were the guys who was trying to take me.
That's right. If you can find a man who is cheap or a cheat, it's a cinch you can make money from him. It's the same thing in golf. If a guy starts to lie about his handicap, you know, if you've been playing golf, and you just adjust your own handicap. So in the end, he gets screwed.
Yeah. That's the point Ben Jonson, who wrote the all poem from which the show is on which the show is based, was making way back there in 1600 or something, whenever it was first.
To vividly show avarice, and the result of avarice, is a moral lesson.
Sure. Now, you say the show was written originally for you by Larry Gilbert.
Yes, with me in mind. I wouldn't do it because I didn't want to go to New York. I don't like New York anymore. It's a dirty city, and everyone's running around frightened, and I didn't want to be in that atmosphere. And I told them I didn't want to do it, not even to send a script to me. But after the show had been open for about 6 months, someone got a script down to me, and I went into my den, and it was lying on my desk, and I picked it up, and I started to read it, and I knew that this was something I should do.
Now the tour calls for New York. Are you going to do New York on this tour?
I don't know. I don't know. It's a tough show to do, Cup. And,
New York used to be your bailiwick. You were the king of New York for a long time.
Gosh, if anybody was a New Yorker, I think I was.
You were.
And I never went to bed before 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'd only go to bed then to find out if the pillows were soft. I'd be up immediately, take a shower, and dress, and go to the next place that was open to have fun. And I love New York. But New York has changed. Toots is gone, of course. And most of the guys that were my friends or colleagues or guys that we'd sit around telling lies to are gone. They've all disappeared. And for a guy my age and like me, there is no reason for me to go to New York. Everybody's disappeared.
In the great days of New York, Jackie was a regular at a place called Toots Shores. Now, Toots was a huge, garrulous, but a very lovable character. He was one of the best saloon keepers in the nation, certainly one of the best known. And one of the great stories involves a foot race between Toots Shore and Jackie Gleason when both were loaded to the gills, had enough to wager a bet on who could run around that block fastest.
Yes.
And would you pick the story up from there, Jackie?
Well,
because it's a great story.
We were sitting at a table. Jimmy Cannon, the sports writer, was there, and Joe DiMaggio, and a couple of the other regulars. And Toots and I got into an argument about who was more athletically inclined. And I said, Toots, don't talk to me about athletics. I said, you get winded opening clams, so... And he said, well, let's do something. I said, well, I don't want to fight you, Toots. I like you, and I don't want to hurt you. So we finally decided we'd have a race. So we got out in front of it, and I said, Toots, so we won't collect the crowd. You run one way, and I'll run the other. And I said, we'll both come in. Whoever gets in front of the door first wins. He said, okay. And I made sure that I ran down toward 6th Avenue, because I could hop in a cab there, and it was all one way with the cab, right around the block. And, of course, Toots ran around, and I was standing in front of the door with all the guys smoking the cigarette. He says, all right, you beat me. And then we went inside, and a couple of drinks later, I heard a roar. Rah! And he turned around to me, and he says, I didn't pass you.
Yes.
A lot of wonderful things happen in Toots Shores.
We spent many an hour there, Jackie.
Yeah.
Jackie, let's go back to your youth now. You lost your mother and you lost your father who disappeared from your life at an early age. Who really reared Jackie Gleason? Who gave you your start in life?
Well, my father disappeared when I was 7 years old, and then my mother had to go to work. And I was alone a great deal of the time. And because my mother had lost a son earlier, when I was 3 years old, he died, my brother Clemens, and he was 14 at the time. And then with my father just disappearing, she was very protective of me. And I didn't go to school till I was 8 years old. They had to come and get me and tell her that she had to send me to school. But she taught me to read. I could read before I went to school, but there was one thing wrong with it. She had an Irish accent. And when she taught me to read, a word like think, she pronounced as tink. And that's the way I spoke. And when I got into school, I could read, but I read the way she had taught me to pronounce the words. And I was the butt of all of the other kids. But I think I grew up quite alone.
Well, your mother died when you were 15.
Yeah.
Then who did you live with?
No one. I went right. After the funeral, we were sitting on the stoop. And I said, well, I guess I'll go. And the Dennehy's, who were a great family, said, well, stay with us. I said, no. I said, I got to go to work. I had 36 cents, which is a standing start. And I went to New York, and it cost me a nickel to get there. Then I bought two, I remember perfectly, I bought two apple and cream cheese waffles that they sold at a thing. That cost 20 cents or something. Anyway, I was broke, without a cent, and for some reason or other, and I still can't understand it, I wasn't apprehensive. And I ran into a friend of mine, Sammy Birch. He's dead, God rest his soul. And I told him, I said, I have no place to stay, Sammy. He says, well, come on up to my place. And when I got there, I found out there were two other guys staying. Everybody was staying at the Markwell Hotel. And I stayed there, and he called up some agents and got me a couple of jobs. And then I took off. But
that's when you started in swimming, wasn't it?
Well, no, I was an exhibition swimmer and diver when I was 10 years old, 11 years old. And from there, and then I racked balls in a pool room and learned to play
how to be the hustler.
I became a hustler, and I'd make a couple of bucks that way. People say that comedians lead sad lives when they're kids. That might be so, but I never realized that I was leading a sad life. Everyone around the neighborhood was broke. So I thought I was the same as everyone. I thought that's how you live. You were broke. Everybody was broke. And my mother was such a wonderful woman and gave me so much love that I didn't miss anything there, even though my father had left.
Your mother was a very unusual lady. I remember you telling me once that she worked in the wintertime. She has a strap cardboard around her legs to keep them warm.
No, it wasn't cardboard.
Or paper or
that's
something.
the day, what you're speaking of is the day that I decided to be a good boy. She was getting dressed to go to work about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I had belonged to the Catholic Boys Brigade, and we had uniforms with leggings. And I saw her wrapping the leggings around her leg and putting her stockings over, because she had to walk 5 blocks through the snow to get the train to take her to work. She was a change maker on the subway. And I watched her doing this, and a bell went off or whatever. But I knew from that moment on that I had to do everything this woman asked me and to give her all the love I could possibly give her, because she was doing something for me that was unheard of as far as I was concerned.
Beautiful story. Jackie, in your press interview the other day, they asked you some questions about some of your fellow entertainers, and I thought you handled it beautifully at the spur of the moment with your conversation. Do you mind if I throw these names out and get your reaction?
Not at all.
I thought the one you paid the greatest tribute to was Art Carney, who co-starred, I will use the word advisedly, on The Honeymooners with you.
Well, if I spoke any other way of Art Carney except complimentary, I'd be a liar and a very deceitful man. Art Carney, working with Art Carney, was the greatest experience I've ever had in my life. He is the greatest comic sensitive I've ever met. And I have said it before, and I say it again, he's responsible for 75% of my success on television. He is a great actor, as now the world knows, since he got the Academy Award. And on top of that, a great comic. I don't know of anybody who is as good in what he does as Art Carney. Art Carney is the top.
Barbara Streisand.
Well, as I said I said she looks like midnight, but she sings like early morning.
Yeah.
And she does. She's a great singer. Years ago, when Merv Griffin had a show, I said, I heard a dame sing the other night. I said, she doesn't look too good. And this was before she had her nose fixed. Did you know she had a nose? Well, she did.
Must have been the same one who did mine.
Yes, yes. Anyway, I said, put her on. And he got her on, and she was a riot. She sang like an angel. She has an extraordinary range of voice and great phrasing and feeling. And she's just wonderful. I think she's the best singer around.
Now, you paid a similar compliment, but not quite as lavish, for Martha Raye, with whom you have appeared.
Martha Raye, and I know if she hears me say this, she won't take offense. She's a hoodlum. She's a great dame to be around. She's just as much at home with the guys as she is with the girls. She's a brother, she's a sister, she's a mother. She had a voice that was tantalizingly romantic with that hoarseness, and to see that voice coming out of that large mouth, but realizing the heart that was behind it. She was a wonderful dame. Still is. And a great comedian.
Yes, she is. How about Humphrey Bogart? Now, you worked with him.
Yes, Humphrey Bogart. I think I'm
He was
the
your
only...
match, wasn't he, when it came to drinking?
More than my
More
match.
than your match.
He would get loaded on one drink and then stay that way. Never got any more loaded, but he would be stiff after the first drink. Yeah. And I think I'm the only actor that he ever paid for lunch. We were making this picture all through the night, and he said to me, hey, let's go over to Lakeside and have lunch. And I went with him. And he picked up the tab, and we both started to drink pretty good over there. And he came back, and I said, Jesus, I said, I don't think that you should work, Bogey. He says, I'm not going to. And he put on one of his gray gloves that he wore in the picture and said it was too tight. And they called Warner. Warner come over laughing, you know, because Bogey was a big star, and they didn't want to aggravate him. And Bogey says, until you get a glove that fits, I'm going home. And that's the excuse he used, and we walked out of the sound stage and went on to Romanoff's and continued.
He was a great practical joker from the top of it.
Oh, he was beautiful. And Peter Lorre, who was our buddy then, was just as exquisite. Yeah. What a nice guy to hang around
Peter was
with.
a wonderful guy.
Yeah. No meanness, no evil in him, just a nice guy.
Jackie, you've had almost every success you can think of in the show business world. Now you live almost in retirement. You come out once in a while. You do Honeymooners once in a while. You do the Sly Foxes once in a while. But basically, you live down in Florida, a man of retirement, play golf all the time. Is life satisfactory for you that way? Is that
It's beautiful, and especially, as you know, Cup, I went with my present wife, Marilyn, 25 years ago, and I couldn't get a divorce, and we sat down and talked it over and decided to call it off. And she went on and married a very lovely man, from everything I hear.
From Chicago, by the way.
Yes. And had a child who was a joy. And unfortunately, her husband died, and she moved to Florida to be near her sister, June. And I found out she was there, and I called her up, and we went to dinner, and I threw some charm on her, and she probably threw a little on me, and we got married. And,
that's a great story in itself.
And it is the best thing that ever happened to me in my life.
That's beautiful.
Just gorgeous.
Now, you do play some golf down there. You have
I
your
have my
tournament every
pigeons.
year.
For instance, I have a golf annuity named Bob Hope.
Bob Hope.
he shows up and just shells it out all the time. Yeah. Somebody asked me what my automobile cost, and I said, I don't know. Hope paid for it.
I do have a picture showed one of your golf tournaments in which I participated, and a president named Mr. Nixon showed up there as your guest.
Yeah.
And if you look carefully, you can see Jackie talking to the president. Behind him is your host of the show here.
Yes, Cup.
That was a...
you were doing the FBI bit that day.
Yeah.
With the dark glasses.
And with an FBI agent, by the way.
Yes, right behind him. There. Yeah.
Jackie, you often have said that television has lost its glamour for you. It's too hard work going back and doing a weekly series, which I know you've had many
because I won't do television the way they're doing it today. Even when we do our specials, we do it in front of an audience. And if it's an hour show, it runs about an hour and 15 minutes, and the 15 minutes is for scenery changes. We do it exactly as if we were doing a play in a theater. No stops. We use no teleprompters, no idiot cards. And doing a show like that is very difficult. And to think you could do it every week. When I was younger, you know, you stay out till 9 in the morning and learn your script between then and 12 o'clock noon. But you can't do it when you get on into later life. And also, you have to live with a television show if you have any interest in it. The script is always in your mind. You'd finish a show on Saturday night. Monday, you meet the writers, and it starts over again. And then the script is 60 sides long, which is 60 pages. And you have to learn that in 3 or 4 days. I never had any difficulty learning it because I have a very good memory. I have a photographic memory. But still, it would linger in the back of your mind. You knew you had to do it again Saturday night. And terrible pressure. A lot of guys couldn't stand the pressure. And look at Prince and those guys. And
they all complain about how difficult it is, even when they're young people. Jackie,
right.
You talk about the script. Now, the story in show business is that you have the best retentive memory in the business. You pick up a script once and you read it and you know it. Now, is it that good? You can read it once and you know the script? That's remarkable. Now, that...
Well, I think that was from the fact I told you that I was alone when I was a child, quite often. And I would ask my mother to buy me a book, Tarzan or Bomba the Jungle Boy or Nick Carter or something. And it was my only entertainment. And I was so anxious to read the book that I rushed through it to get to the end. And when I tell my mother, well, I finished the book, she says, you couldn't have finished the book. You got it 20 minutes ago. I said, I did. And she'd open it up. She says, all right, what is Nick Carter doing? On page, he just met so-and-so. And I said, well, he did. And for some reason or other, my memory began to strengthen from those kind of experiences. A strange thing happens with photographic memory. When you have no urge to use it, you lose it. And although I can look at a script now and memorize it very quickly, I could do it a hell of a lot faster years ago.
Jack, we were running out of time, but before we do, I'd like to pay a compliment to two of the people in your show who I think are superb. Cleavon Little.
Oh, sensational.
Just wonderful. And, of course, Irwin Corey.
Oh, he's great.
But I thought that guy who played the chief of police with all the sex hang-ups was just wonderful. What great depiction.
He delivers his lines right on the button. He has a great delivery. He has a small part, and I'm thankful that you bring up that you remember him, because everybody does that sees the show. They remember that guy because even though he has a small part, he does it so well they remember him.
Well, we've run out of time with Jackie Gleason now. We want to thank him. Jackie Gleason will be at the Blackstone Theater in the Sly Fox, and he's a sly one, believe me. We're going to be joined in a few moments by Carl Sagan, the prize-winning author of Dragons of Eden, Tom Wicker of the New York Times, and Ben Wattenberg, a political scientist. Incidentally, I know you're a great fan of Carl Sagan, so if you feel like coming back and joining us a little bit later, we'd appreciate it.
I'd be delighted.
Very good. We'll take a pause here for just a moment and bring on our three new guests.